Kevin Patterson stood at his apartment window, coffee mug trembling in his hand as he watched the sleek transport pod descend from the sky. The crystalline vessel gleamed in the afternoon sunlight, its surface rippling with colors that didn't exist in Earth's spectrum. He had been dreading this moment since his father's cryptic message 3 days ago. "Your birthday gift is arriving Thursday. It will strengthen our position with the Valastrian delegation." Kevin was 25 today. He didn't want whatever was in that pod. The transport settled gently onto the landing platform outside his building, drawing curious stares from passers-by on the street below. Kevin set down his mug and grabbed his jacket, his stomach churning with a sick feeling he couldn't shake. He worked as a cultural mediator for the Earth Trade Commission, helping humans and aliens understand each other's customs. He knew what the Valastrians considered appropriate diplomatic gifts between families of status. He just prayed he was wrong. The elevator ride down felt like descending into cold water. Kevin's mind raced through protocols, through polite ways to refuse, through the political ramifications his father would face. His father, Commissioner Gerald Patterson, had spent 5 years building relationships with the Valastrian Empire. Their technology, their trade routes, their connections to dozens of other species, all of it hinged on maintaining good relations. But there were lines Kevin wouldn't cross. Not even for his father's career. The pod's entrance irised open as Kevin approached, and his worst fears materialized before him. Seated on cushions that seemed to float and shift like living things was a woman unlike any he had ever seen. Her skin held a soft lavender tone that shimmered faintly in the light, and her hair fell in elaborate silver braids adorned with tiny glowing ornaments that looked like captured stars. Her eyes were large and dark, almost black, framed by delicate features that seemed too perfect to be real. She wore flowing garments that changed color with her breathing, moving from deep purple to pale blue and back again. She was breathtaking. She was Valastrian nobility. And according to the data pad floating beside her, she belonged to him now. Kevin felt his hands clench into fists at his sides. The woman rose gracefully, her movements fluid and practiced. She stepped down from the pod onto Earth's surface, her bare feet touching the concrete as if it might burn her. Then she straightened, arranged her features into a serene expression, and spoke. "Greetings, Kevin Patterson," she said in perfect English, her accent musical but carefully neutral. "I am Lissa, daughter of Ambassador Telvern of House Astraline. I have been honored to be chosen as your companion, sent to celebrate your birth anniversary and to strengthen the sacred bonds between our peoples. I am yours to command." The rehearsed quality of her words made Kevin want to throw up. She sounded like she was reciting from a script, like she had practiced this speech 1,000 times until every inflection was perfect. Behind her polished exterior, Kevin saw something else, a careful blankness, a wall built to hide whatever she really felt. "This is wrong," Kevin said, his voice coming out rougher than he intended. Lissa's perfect composure flickered for just a moment. Her eyes widened slightly, and her carefully positioned hands twitched before she regained control. "I do not understand," she said carefully. "Have I arrived at an inappropriate time? Is my appearance displeasing? I was told that human males prefer—" "Stop," Kevin interrupted gently. "You haven't done anything wrong. This whole situation is wrong. You're a person, not a gift. I'm going to call the Valastrian embassy right now and arrange for you to be returned to your home with full diplomatic honors and my profound apologies for this misunderstanding." He pulled out his communication device, already scrolling through contacts, when Lissa's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong, and when Kevin looked up, he saw real fear in those dark eyes for the first time. "Please," she said, and now her voice shook. The practiced smoothness was gone, replaced by raw panic. "Please, you cannot refuse me. You must not send me back." Kevin lowered his device, confused. "I'm trying to help you. You shouldn't be treated like property." "You do not understand our ways," Lissa said quickly, her words tumbling out faster now. "In Valastrian culture, a gift offered is a bond proposed. A gift accepted is a bond formed. But a gift rejected—" She closed her eyes. "A gift rejected is an insult that cannot be forgiven. If you refuse me, I will be exiled from Valastra permanently. I can never return. My father will lose his position as ambassador. My family's house will fall from nobility to disgrace. My younger sisters will never be allowed to marry into proper families. Everything my bloodline has built for 6 generations will be destroyed." Kevin stared at her, horror growing in his chest. "That's insane. They can't punish you for something I choose to do." "They can and they will," Lissa whispered. "A daughter who fails to please her assigned companion is a daughter who has brought shame on her entire line. I was trained for 17 years for this purpose. Every lesson, every skill, every moment of my life has been building toward being the perfect companion for someone of status. If I fail now, if you reject me, I become nothing. Worse than nothing. I become a warning to other daughters about the price of inadequacy. Kevin's mind reeled. He had studied dozens of alien cultures, had mediated conflicts based on wildly different values and traditions, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. They had taken this woman, raised her like a prize animal, trained her to be decorative and compliant, and then shipped her across space to be someone's possession. And they had built the trap so perfectly that refusing to participate would destroy her. There has to be another way, Kevin said. There is not, Lissa replied, her voice hollow. I am here now. The bond is offered. You must accept or I must face exile. Those are the only paths. Kevin looked at her, really looked past the perfect appearance and practiced grace. He saw someone who had probably never made a real choice in her entire life. Someone who had been shaped and molded to fit someone else's desires. Someone who was terrified, alone, and trapped on an alien world with nowhere to run. He made a decision. Okay, Kevin said slowly. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to come upstairs to my apartment. But not as my property. Not as my companion or whatever they're calling it. As my roommate. My guest. You'll have your own space, your own freedom. We're going to figure out a way to satisfy this cultural requirement without treating you like an object, and we're going to find a solution that lets you keep your family's honor without sacrificing your dignity. Understood. Lissa stared at him as if he had started speaking in an alien language her translator couldn't process. The words make sense individually, but together why would you do this? Because you're a person, Kevin said simply. And people deserve to make their own choices. Maybe you haven't been allowed to make many choices in your life, but that changes now. Starting today. He picked up her single piece of luggage, an ornate chest covered in precious metals and glowing symbols that probably cost more than his entire year's salary. Then he gestured toward his building's entrance. Come on. I'll show you the apartment. Fair warning, it's nothing fancy. But it's home, and as of now it's your home too. At least until we figure this out together. Lissa followed slowly, her movements less graceful now, as if the shock was disrupting her training. She looked back once at the transport pod as it sealed itself and lifted silently into the sky, returning to whatever ship waited in orbit. She watched it disappear into the clouds, and Kevin saw her shoulders tremble. She had expected many things when she arrived on Earth. Demands, commands, perhaps cruelty, perhaps kindness, but always ownership. She had been prepared to endure whatever came, to be perfect, to please, to survive. She had never prepared for someone who wanted her to be free. The first morning in Kevin's apartment, Lissa woke before dawn out of habit. She had been trained to rise early, to prepare herself perfectly before her companion might see her. She spent an hour arranging her hair, selecting garments that would please, practicing her serene expression in the bathroom mirror. Then she went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast as any proper companion would. She was halfway through attempting to understand Kevin's primitive cooking devices when he stumbled out of his bedroom in wrinkled sleep clothes, his hair sticking up in several directions. "What are you doing?" he asked, rubbing his eyes. "Preparing your morning meal," Lissa said, standing at attention beside the stove where something was starting to smoke. "I apologize for my inadequacy with Earth technology. On Velastra we have automated—" "Lissa, stop." Kevin moved to the stove and turned off the heat. "You don't have to do this. I told you we're roommates. Equals. That means we share the chores, we take turns cooking, we figure things out together." "I do not understand," Lissa said carefully. "You are the master of this dwelling. I am my roommate," Kevin interrupted firmly but kindly. "Just my roommate. How about this? I'll make breakfast today, you watch and learn how the stove works, and tomorrow we can cook together. Sound fair?" Lissa nodded slowly, though nothing about this sounded fair to her. Fair would be her serving him. Fair would be her fulfilling her purpose. This felt like charity, and charity meant she was failing. But she watched as Kevin made simple eggs and toast, explaining each step like she was a student rather than a servant. And when he set a plate in front of her at the small kitchen table and sat down across from her with his own plate, eating casually while asking about her sleep, something inside her chest felt strange and tight. The days that followed established a pattern that Lissa found increasingly confusing. Kevin went to work each morning at the Trade Commission offices, leaving her alone in the apartment. He didn't lock her in. He didn't restrict her access to his communication devices or his personal belongings. He simply said, "See you tonight," and left, trusting her completely. Lissa spent those first days exploring cautiously. She examined Kevin's books, his collection of art from different worlds, his photographs of friends and family. She noticed that he had pictures of himself with aliens of many species, always smiling, always relaxed. In Valastrian culture, such casual mixing was inappropriate. Beauty associated with lesser species diluted itself. But Kevin didn't seem to believe in lesser species. In the evenings, Kevin did things that baffled Lissa completely. He asked her to help fold laundry. He invited her to choose what they would watch on the entertainment screen. He challenged her to games that involved strategy and quick thinking, games where she often won, and he would laugh and congratulate her without any resentment. "You're really good at this," Kevin said one night after Lissa had beaten him at a complex strategy game for the third time in a row. "You see patterns I completely miss." "I was trained in pattern recognition," Lissa said automatically. "It helps a companion anticipate needs and moods." Or, Kevin said, "You might just be naturally talented at spatial reasoning and strategic thinking. Did you ever study mathematics on Valastra?" Lissa hesitated. "Only what was required for basic education. Advanced mathematics is not considered appropriate for those of us trained in the companion arts. Beauty and grace do not require such harsh thinking." Kevin raised his eyebrows. "Harsh thinking? Math is beautiful. Here, look at this." He pulled up a holographic display showing an equation that made Lissa's breath catch. It was elegant, complex, describing the curve of spacetime around a massive object. Kevin explained it in simple terms, showing how the numbers described the shape of reality itself. "This is how our ships navigate between stars," Kevin said. "This is how we understand the universe. Isn't it gorgeous?" Lissa stared at the floating numbers, and something inside her that had been sleeping for years suddenly woke up. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, it is." That night she couldn't sleep. She borrowed Kevin's data pad and started reading about Earth mathematics, about physics, about the equations that described everything from gravity to light to the probability of particle behavior. She read until dawn, her mind racing, feeling like she was drinking water after years in a desert. Over the following weeks, Kevin noticed the change. He would come home to find Lissa working through advanced mathematics texts, filling screens with calculations. He started bringing home books from the university library, progressively more complex, and Lissa devoured them all. "You know," Kevin said one evening watching her solve a differential equation that had taken him a week in university, "you could enroll in classes. Earth universities accept students from any species." Lissa looked up, startled. "I am a companion. Companions do not attend university." "You're a person with a brilliant mind," Kevin countered. "And people with brilliant minds should get to use them." But before Lissa could respond, Kevin's communication device buzzed with an urgent alert. His face went pale as he read the message. "What is wrong?" Lissa asked. "The media found out about you," Kevin said quietly. "Someone leaked the story about the Valastrian gift. It's all over the news networks." Lissa felt ice flood her veins. "What are they saying?" Kevin turned the screen so she could see. Headlines scrolled past. "Alien woman given as birthday present to commissioner's son." Is this diplomacy or trafficking? Romance or slavery? The Valastrian gift controversy. Some of the coverage portrayed it as exotic and romantic. Others called it barbaric. None of them seemed to care what Lissa herself thought or felt. That night, after Kevin had gone to bed, Lissa received a private communication on a secure channel. Her father's face appeared on the screen, looking older than she remembered. "Lissa," Ambassador Telvrin said quietly. "We must speak." "Father," Lissa said, her voice carefully neutral. "I have not displeased my companion. The human media does not understand our ways, but Kevin Patterson has accepted me with honor." "I know," her father said. "That is not why I contacted you. Lissa, I need to tell you the truth about why you were sent to Earth." Lissa went very still. "You were becoming dangerous," her father continued, his voice heavy. "You questioned things. You spoke to other young nobles about how our beauty standards were arbitrary, how our hierarchy based on appearance was illogical. You suggested that females might contribute to science and leadership. Your ideas were spreading, especially among your generation. The Council of Perfection decided you needed to be removed before you corrupted others. So you sent me away," Lissa said numbly. "I gave you a chance at life," her father said. "If I had not volunteered you as a diplomatic gift, they would have had you declared genetically flawed and removed from the breeding records entirely. You would have been exiled with nothing, branded as defective. This way you were exiled with honor. You have a place to live, someone to care for you, and your ideas cannot spread on Valastra. You sold me to protect your political position, Lissa said. I saved you from execution, her father snapped. Then he sighed. Lissa, I do not expect you to understand. But know this, you can never come home. The moment you questioned our ways, the moment you suggested that beauty was not the highest virtue, you became an enemy of everything Velastra stands for. Stay on Earth. Live your strange human life. But do not contact your family again. For their safety and yours. The screen went dark. Lissa sat in the darkness of Kevin's living room, processing everything. She had not been honored. She had been exiled. Her entire life had been a preparation for a role designed to silence her. Her training, her beauty, her perfect manners, all of it had been a cage built to contain a mind that asked too many questions. And Kevin, this human she barely knew, had accidentally freed her simply by treating her like a thinking being instead of a decorative object. She looked at the mathematics text stacked on the table, at the equation she had been solving, at the window showing Earth's chaotic, messy, beautiful city below. On Velastra, everything was ordered by beauty. Here things were ordered by choice. For the first time in her life, Lissa had a choice. She picked up the data pad and began researching Earth universities. The morning after her father's devastating call, Lissa sat at Kevin's kitchen table staring at her reflection in a blank data pad screen. She had spent 22 years believing she was special, chosen, honored. Now she understood she had been inconvenient, dangerous, and disposed of in the most elegant way possible. Kevin emerged from his bedroom and immediately noticed something different about her. The careful mask she usually wore was gone, replaced by something harder and more determined. You okay? He asked gently. No, Lissa said. But I will be. Kevin, I need to tell you something about why I was really sent here. She explained everything her father had revealed. Kevin listened without interrupting, his expression growing darker with each sentence. When she finished, he sat down heavily across from her. They exiled you for thinking, he said quietly. For having opinions. For being imperfect, Lissa corrected. On Velastra, questioning the system is the greatest imperfection of all. Beauty must be shallow, ornamental, and above all, silent. That's not beauty, Kevin said. That's control. Lissa looked at him for a long moment. The media stories about me are still spreading. Everyone is talking about the Velastrian gift tradition, debating whether it is cultural exchange or something darker. What if we used that attention? What do you mean? What if I spoke publicly? Lissa said, her voice gaining strength. What if I told them the truth? Not just about me but about what Velastra really is beneath all its perfect beauty. What if I showed them that I am not just an ornament, that I have a mind, that I was silenced because my thoughts were dangerous to those in power? Kevin leaned back, considering. That would cause a major diplomatic incident. My father would face enormous pressure. The trade agreements could collapse. I know, Lissa said. And I would understand if you want me to stay quiet. This is your world, your family, your father's career. I have already taken so much from you just by existing here. Stop, Kevin said firmly. You haven't taken anything. And you know what? My father always taught me that the right thing matters more than the easy thing. He might have forgotten that somewhere along the way climbing the political ladder. Maybe it's time someone reminded him. He pulled out his communication device and began making calls. Within 2 hours he had arranged a press conference for that afternoon. Major Earth media outlets, some alien correspondents, and several cultural advocacy groups would be there. Lissa had 4 hours to prepare. She spent that time not on her appearance, though her Velastrian training screamed at her to perfect her hair and select the most flattering garments. Instead, she prepared her words. She wrote notes about her education, about the mathematics she had discovered she loved, about the young Velastrians who had whispered to her in secret that they too had questions about their society's obsession with genetic perfection. When they arrived at the press conference venue, Lissa's hands were shaking. Kevin squeezed her shoulder gently. You don't have to do this, he said. We can turn around right now. No, Lissa said. I have been silent my entire life. I will not be silent anymore. The room fell quiet when she walked to the podium. Cameras focused on her from every angle. She knew what they saw, a beautiful alien woman, exotic and decorative. She was about to show them something else. My name is Lissa of House Astraline, she began, her voice clear and steady. I was sent to Earth as a diplomatic gift, a tradition my people call the offering of bonds. You have been debating whether this tradition is romantic or barbaric. I am here to tell you it is neither. It is a method of disposal. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lissa continued. I was sent away because I committed the worst crime possible in Velastrian society. I thought for myself. I questioned why females of my species are trained only in arts of pleasing others while males study science and governance. I wondered aloud why our entire civilization is structured around genetic perfection and physical beauty when these things contribute nothing to knowledge, exploration, or genuine progress. I spoke these thoughts to others my age and they began to question too. She paused, letting that sink in. So I was removed. Packaged as an honor, shipped across space, and given to a stranger with instructions to be beautiful, compliant, and quiet. But Kevin Patterson did something my people never expected. He treated me as an equal. He gave me access to mathematics texts. He encouraged me to think, to learn, to choose my own path. And I discovered that I have a talent for quantum mathematics. I have been solving problems that interest me, learning at a pace that would shock my former teachers, doing work that on Velastra would be forbidden to someone of my gender and station. Lissa pulled up a holographic display showing one of her recent calculations, a complex proof about quantum entanglement that she had worked through the previous night. This is what my people threw away when they decided I was more valuable as decoration than as a thinking being. How many other minds has Velastra wasted? How many other voices has my culture silenced because they dared to suggest that worth comes from what you do, not how you look? A reporter raised her hand. Are you saying the gift tradition is a form of exile? I am saying it can be, Lissa replied. I am saying that any tradition that treats people as objects, that removes their choice, that values their appearance over their ability to contribute to society, is not a tradition worth preserving. I am saying that I was sent here to be forgotten, but instead I have been given the chance to become who I really am. What do you plan to do now? Another reporter asked. I have applied to Earth Central University, Lissa said. I wish to study quantum mathematics formally. I wish to contribute to real knowledge, to work alongside the brilliant minds of this world regardless of what species they are or what they look like. And I wish to show other young Valastrians that there is another way to live. That beauty is not the highest virtue. That thinking is not a crime. The press conference exploded with questions, but Kevin stepped forward and guided Lissa away from the podium. As they left the building, his communication device began buzzing non-stop. Messages flooded in from news outlets, from academic institutions, from young Valastrians who had seen the broadcast and were sending messages of support in secret. And then a call came through from Kevin's father, Commissioner Gerald Patterson. Kevin answered, putting it on speaker so Lissa could hear. What have you done? Gerald's voice was tight with controlled anger. Do you have any idea the position you've put me in? The Valastrian embassy is demanding Lissa's immediate return for what they're calling cultural correction. They're threatening to withdraw from every trade agreement we've spent years building. The council wants me to hand her over within 48 hours or face removal from my position. Then I guess you have a choice to make, Dad, Kevin said quietly. This isn't a game, Kevin. This is my career. This is Earth's relationship with a major galactic power. This is a person's life, Kevin shot back. This is someone who committed the terrible crime of thinking for herself. And you taught me when I was young that we don't compromise on human rights. Or did you mean that only applies when it's convenient? There was a long silence on the other end of the call. She's not human, Gerald said finally, but his voice had lost its edge. She's a person, Kevin insisted. And she deserves the same protections we'd give to any refugee fleeing political persecution. You know that's what this is, Dad. They want her back so they can silence her, so they can make an example of what happens when someone questions their perfect society. Another long pause. Lissa held her breath. The Valastrian retrieval team is already en route, Gerald said. They'll arrive tomorrow evening. They have legal authority under interstellar diplomatic protocols. So stop them, Kevin said. I can't just, Gerald started. Yes, you can, Kevin interrupted. You're the trade commissioner. You have the authority to grant political asylum pending a formal hearing. You can protect her if you choose to. The question is whether you will. Lissa heard Gerald take a deep breath on the other end of the line. If I do this, I'll lose my position. The council will force me out. Everything I've built will mean nothing if you sacrifice someone's freedom to protect it, Kevin finished. I know this is hard, Dad. But it's also simple. It's the right thing to do. The call ended without an answer. Kevin and Lissa returned to the apartment in silence, neither knowing what the next day would bring. That night, Lissa couldn't sleep. She worked through mathematics problems, finding comfort in the certainty of numbers, in problems that had clear solutions unlike the messy reality of politics and power. At dawn, Kevin's communication device chimed with a message from his father. Just 3 words. Asylum petition filed. Lissa read the message over Kevin's shoulder and felt something break open in her chest. It wasn't joy, not exactly. It was something more profound. It was the realization that someone with power had chosen principle over convenience, had chosen her freedom over his career, had chosen what was right even though it cost him everything. He did it, she whispered. Yeah, Kevin said, and she could hear the pride and pain mixed in his voice. He did. Outside the window, Earth's sun was rising over the city. The Valastrian retrieval team would arrive soon. The political battle was just beginning. But for the first time in her life, Lissa was not facing it alone. The Valastrian retrieval team arrived exactly when promised, their ship descending over the city like a piece of jewelry falling through the sky. Lissa watched from Kevin's apartment window as it landed on the diplomatic platform 3 blocks away. She had not slept in 36 hours, but her mind felt sharp and clear. Kevin stood beside her, his own exhaustion visible in the shadows under his eyes. We could still run, he said quietly. I have friends in other cities, other countries. We could disappear for a while. No, Lissa said. Running would prove them right. It would prove I need to be protected from my own choices, that I am too fragile and foolish to decide my own fate. I will not hide. Her communication device chimed. A message from the Valastrian embassy informed her that the retrieval specialists would arrive at Kevin's apartment within the hour. They would escort her to the ship for immediate departure. The message ended with a line that made Lissa's stomach turn. Your family awaits your return with open arms and concerned hearts. It was a lie wrapped in beautiful words, and Lissa had spent her whole life learning to recognize those. They are coming, she said to Kevin. I need to do something before they arrive. She set up a live broadcast using Kevin's communication equipment, linking it to every major news network that had covered her press conference. Within minutes, she was streaming to millions of viewers across Earth and dozens of other worlds. Her hands trembled as she adjusted the camera, but her voice remained steady. My name is Lissa of House Astraline, she began. In 1 hour, representatives from my homeworld will arrive to take me back to Valastra. They will say it is for my protection, for my own good, because I am confused by Earth's strange ways. I am speaking now to tell you that this is false. She looked directly into the camera, letting everyone see her face, her determination, her fear and her courage mixed together. I came to Earth as an object, a gift given to cement political relationships. I was trained my entire life to be beautiful and silent, to please and obey, to never question the world I lived in. But Kevin Patterson showed me a different possibility. He treated me as a person with thoughts worth hearing and choices worth respecting. He gave me books on mathematics, and I discovered I have a mind that loves solving problems, that finds beauty in equations and elegance in proofs. Lissa pulled up several of her recent calculations, displaying them beside her image. On Valastra, this work would be forbidden to me because of my gender and my designated role. I was exiled disguised as honor because I dared to question why half our population is wasted on being decorative. And now that I have found my voice, now that I have shown other young Valastrians that there is another way to live, my government wants to silence me permanently. She paused, gathering her courage for what came next. I am formally claiming political asylum on Earth. I am a refugee from cultural oppression, from a system that values appearance over ability, that punishes independent thought, that treats people as property. I choose to stay here. I choose freedom over safety, choice over comfort, uncertainty over the beautiful cage I was born into. This is my decision made by me for myself. No one speaks for me but me. The broadcast ended. Lissa sat back, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might break through her chest. Kevin squeezed her hand. That was incredibly brave, he said. Or incredibly foolish, Lissa replied. We will know soon. The Valastrian retrieval team arrived exactly on time. There were 3 of them, and they were not the warriors Lissa had expected. Instead, they were specialists in what Valastrians called care and restoration, experts in psychology, persuasion, and gentle manipulation. They wore flowing robes and calming colors and carried no visible weapons. The leader was a woman named Surina, older than Lissa, with silver hair elaborately braided and skin that shimmered with iridescent patterns marking her as a high-ranking care specialist. She smiled with perfect warmth as Kevin opened the door. Kevin Patterson, Surina said in a voice like honey. Thank you for sheltering our lost daughter. We have come to bring her home to safety. I am not lost, Lissa said, stepping forward. And I am not leaving. Surina's smile never wavered. Dear child, we understand you are confused. Earth's chaotic culture has overwhelmed you. The lack of proper structure, the emphasis on individual choice over communal harmony, It is too much for someone of your sensitive nature. Come with us. Your family misses you terribly. My family exiled me, Lissa said flatly. Your family protected you, Serena corrected gently. They gave you this opportunity to serve a greater purpose. But we see now that Earth was not ready to appreciate your gifts. You need the comfort of home, the guidance of those who truly understand you. Kevin stepped forward. She has asylum status pending. You can't just take her. We are not taking her, Serena said, her voice still perfectly calm and reasonable. We are offering her the choice to return to those who love her. Lissa, think of your sisters. Think of your mother. They weep for you every day. Would you break their hearts with your stubbornness? Lissa felt the old training kick in, the instinct to please, to avoid causing pain, to be good and compliant and perfect. Serena's words were designed to trigger exactly these responses, to make her feel selfish for wanting freedom. But then Kevin did something unexpected. He did not argue with Serena. He did not list the legal protections or cite Earth's asylum laws. He simply turned to Lissa and asked a question. What do you want, Lissa? It was such a simple question. 5 words. But in those words was everything Kevin had been showing her since she arrived. That her desires mattered, that her choices were valid, that she was a person whose wants and needs deserved respect. I want to stay on Earth, Lissa said clearly. I want to study mathematics at the university. I want to live in a place where I can think freely, speak honestly, and contribute something real to the world. I want to choose my own path instead of following the one laid out for me before I was born. You are making a mistake, Serena said, her smile finally fading. You are throwing away everything for a fantasy of independence. On Earth you will always be alien, always other, always strange. On Velastra you are one of us. You belong. I belonged in a cage, Lissa replied. Here I might be strange but I am free. Serena's expression hardened. Very well. If you will not come willingly, we have the authority to invoke mental health protocols. We can declare you incompetent to make decisions due to cultural contamination and remove you for therapeutic intervention. Try it, said a new voice from the doorway. Commissioner Gerald Patterson stood there in his formal diplomatic uniform, flanked by 2 Earth security officers. His face was stern, but his eyes showed something Lissa had not seen before, determination mixed with what might have been pride. Lissa has filed for political asylum under Earth's refugee protection laws, Gerald said formally. She has demonstrated clear and credible fear of persecution based on her political opinions and membership in a particular social group, specifically females who question Velastrian gender roles. Her asylum petition has been accepted for full hearing. Any attempt to remove her by force will be considered kidnapping under Earth law. Serena turned to face Gerald, her posture shifting to something more aggressive. Commissioner Patterson, we had an agreement. Velastra provides Earth with advanced technology and trade access. Earth respects our cultural practices and internal affairs. This girl is our citizen, subject to our laws. This woman, Gerald corrected, emphasizing the word, is claiming refugee status. Earth does not return refugees to persecution, regardless of trade considerations. That is our law, and it is not negotiable. Then you are choosing to destroy the relationship between our worlds, Serena said coldly. Over one insignificant girl who does not even appreciate what she is throwing away. I am choosing to uphold the principles Earth claims to value, Gerald replied. If Velastra wishes to sever diplomatic ties over our refusal to participate in political persecution, that tells me everything I need to know about the value of those ties. Serena looked at Lissa one last time. Last chance, child. Come home now and this can all be forgotten. Stay here and you will be declared dead to your family. Your name will be struck from our records. Your sisters will be forbidden to speak of you. You will become a ghost, a cautionary tale, a warning to others about the price of betraying your own kind. Lissa felt tears prick her eyes, but she kept her voice steady. Then I will be a ghost who thinks freely rather than a living ornament who thinks nothing at all. The retrieval team left without another word. Lissa watched from the window as their ship lifted into the sky and disappeared among the stars. She felt Kevin's presence beside her, solid and reassuring, and his father's hand briefly on her shoulder in silent support. Within hours, the Velastrian government issued a formal statement. Diplomatic ties with Earth were suspended indefinitely. All trade agreements were terminated. And Lissa of House Astraline was officially declared non-existent, her name removed from all family records, her genetic line erased as if she had never been born. The news networks played the statement alongside footage of Lissa's asylum broadcast. Public opinion split sharply. Some praised Earth for standing on principle, others condemned the loss of valuable alien technology and trade over one individual. But among young Valastrians watching from their homeworld, something else was happening. Secret messages began arriving in Lissa's communication accounts. Encrypted. Anonymous. Brief. You gave me courage. I am not alone in questioning. Thank you for speaking. Because of you, I applied to an Earth university. Lissa read each message with tears streaming down her face. She had lost her family, her homeworld, her entire history. But she had gained something more valuable. She had gained herself. And in doing so, she had shown others that they could do the same. Kevin found her that evening, sitting at his kitchen table surrounded by university enrollment materials and mathematics texts, her face still showing the tracks of tears but her eyes bright with determination. You okay? He asked. No, Lissa said honestly. But I will be. And Kevin? Thank you. For everything. For treating me like a person when no one else would. You are a person, Kevin said simply. That was never in question. Not for me. Lissa smiled, fragile but genuine. Tomorrow she would start university classes. Tomorrow she would begin building a new life from nothing. Tomorrow she would face a future with no map, no plan, no certainty. But tonight she was free. And that was enough. 6 months after claiming asylum, Lissa sat in a cramped university research lab at 3 in the morning, staring at equations that danced across multiple holographic screens. Her hair was pulled back in a messy knot, she wore comfortable clothes stained with coffee, and she had not thought about her appearance in hours. She had never been happier. The breakthrough had come 2 hours ago, a sudden clarity about quantum entanglement that made her sit up straight and start writing frantically. The problem she had been wrestling with for weeks suddenly had an answer, elegant and simple and revolutionary. If her calculations were correct, she had found a way to maintain quantum entanglement across distances previously thought impossible, which had implications for everything from communication to computing to space travel. Her research advisor, Professor Chin, had told her to go home and sleep. But Lissa could not sleep, not when her mind was racing with possibilities, not when she was so close to proving something that would change how scientists understood the quantum realm. She heard footsteps in the hallway and looked up to see Kevin carrying 2 cups of coffee. He had a key to the research building now, had memorized her late-night work schedule, and often appeared with caffeine and snacks when she lost track of time. Still at it? He asked, setting a cup beside her workstation. I found it, Lissa said, her voice trembling with excitement. Kevin, I found the solution. Look at this. She walked him through the proof, watching his eyes widen as he followed her logic. Kevin was not a physicist, but he was smart enough to understand the basics, and more importantly, he was genuinely interested in her work. Lissa, this is incredible, he said when she finished. You need to publish this immediately. I need to verify it first, Lissa said. Run simulations, check for errors, have others review the mathematics. But yes, if it holds up, this could be significant. It held up. Over the next 3 weeks, Lissa worked with Professor Chin and a team of graduate students to test her theory in every way possible. The mathematics was sound. The simulations supported it. Other physicists reviewed her work and found no flaws. The paper was published in the Journal of Quantum Physics with Lissa as the lead author. Within days, it was being discussed across Earth's scientific community. Within weeks, alien scientists from a dozen species were citing her work. And within a month, even Valastrian researchers were quietly acknowledging that Lissa of House Astraline, or rather the ghost who had once been Lissa of House Astraline, had made a genuine contribution to galactic knowledge. The recognition was overwhelming. Interview requests flooded in from academic institutions, news networks, and scientific organizations. Earth Central University offered Lissa a full scholarship to continue her doctoral studies. 3 different research institutes invited her to join their teams. But the message that affected Lissa most deeply came through an encrypted channel late one night. It was from her younger sister, Mira, who Lissa had not heard from since being declared non-existent. I am not supposed to contact you, the message read. But I needed you to know that your research paper is being passed around secretly among young scholars on Valastra. Some of the males in the Science Academy are angry that a female produced work they could not match. But others are questioning why half our population is forbidden from contributing to knowledge. You have started something here, sister. Something that cannot be stopped. I hope you are well. I hope you are happy. I hope you know that you were right to choose freedom. Lissa read the message 3 times, crying quietly, before deleting it to protect her sister. She had lost her family officially, but this small connection, this acknowledgement that her choice mattered, meant everything. Kevin found her in the apartment later, her eyes still red from crying. Without asking questions, he simply sat beside her on the couch and put his arm around her shoulders. She leaned into him, grateful for his solid presence, for the way he gave her space to feel without demanding explanations. Over the past 6 months, something had shifted between them. It had started as gratitude on Lissa's part, as compassion on Kevin's. But slowly, through late-night conversations and shared meals, through him attending her lectures and her learning about his work in cultural mediation, something deeper had developed. They both felt it, but neither had spoken about it. The foundation of their relationship was too complicated, built on trauma and obligation and circumstances neither had chosen. Lissa did not want Kevin to feel responsible for her happiness, and Kevin did not want Lissa to feel indebted to him. Finally, one evening as they were washing dishes together after dinner, Kevin broke the silence. "I need to tell you something," he said, his hands still in the soapy water. "And I need you to know that nothing changes if you do not feel the same way. You will always have a home here, always be welcome no matter what." Lissa set down the dish she was drying. "What is it?" "I have feelings for you," Kevin said, not looking at her. "Real feelings. Not because you live here, not because I feel responsible for you, but because you are brilliant and brave and funny and I genuinely enjoy every moment we spend together. But our whole relationship started in such a messed up way, and I do not want you to feel pressured or obligated to." "Kevin," Lissa interrupted. "I have feelings for you too." He finally looked at her, hope and uncertainty mixed in his expression. "You do." "I do," Lissa confirmed. "But you are right that our foundation is complicated. We met because I was given to you as property. We lived together out of necessity. How do we know what is real and what is just circumstance?" Kevin thought about this for a long moment. "What if we start over?" he suggested. "What if we take the past 6 months as what they were, you finding your footing, me being a friend and roommate, and we start fresh from here? Actual dates. Actual courtship. Getting to know each other as two people who choose to spend time together, not two people thrown together by politics and obligation." Lissa smiled, feeling something warm bloom in her chest. "I would like that very much." Their first real date was awkward and perfect. Kevin took Lissa to a small restaurant that served food from 6 different planets, and they talked about everything except asylum and politics in Velastra. They discussed their favorite books, their childhood dreams, their opinions on Earth music. Kevin made Lissa laugh with stories about his early disasters in cultural mediation. Lissa shared her secret love of terrible human reality television shows. At the end of the night, Kevin walked Lissa to her bedroom door in the apartment they still shared, and they both laughed at the absurdity of it. "This is ridiculous," Lissa said. "We live together but we are dating like strangers. We can figure out new living arrangements if that would be better," Kevin offered. "No," Lissa said quickly. "I like living with you. I just mean this is unusual." "Everything about us is unusual," Kevin pointed out. "But that does not make it wrong." He kissed her hand goodnight, old-fashioned and sweet, and Lissa went to bed feeling like she was floating. The requests from young Valastrians started arriving in small numbers at first, then in a flood. They wanted to know how to apply to Earth universities. They asked about asylum procedures. They shared their own stories of feeling trapped by beauty standards and rigid gender roles. Lissa could not help them all, but she tried. She set up an information network, connecting young Valastrians with Earth educational institutions willing to accept them. She spoke at conferences about cultural evolution and individual rights. She became, without intending to, a symbol of what was possible when courage met opportunity. 1 year after the transport pod had delivered her to Kevin's apartment building, Lissa woke to find messages from friends and colleagues wishing her a happy arrival anniversary. Kevin had left a note on the kitchen counter, "Happy birthday but better." She had been invited to give a guest lecture at the university that afternoon on her quantum entanglement research. That evening, a group of friends, human, alien, people she had met through school and work and simply living her life, were meeting for pizza at the restaurant that had become their regular gathering place. Lissa looked at herself in the mirror as she prepared for the lecture. Her hair was styled simply, practical rather than ornamental. She wore comfortable professional clothing chosen for function not display. Her face showed the signs of late nights spent working, of stress and joy and genuine living. She looked nothing like the perfect Valastrian beauty who had emerged from that transport pod a year ago. She looked, Lissa thought, beautiful in a completely different way. Beautiful because of what she had accomplished, what she had survived, what she had chosen to become. The lecture went well. Lissa presented her research to a packed auditorium, fielding questions from students and professors who treated her ideas with respect and intellectual rigor. No one cared about her appearance or her gender or what role she had been trained for. They cared about her mind, her work, her contributions. That evening, crowded around a table at the pizza restaurant with Kevin and 8 other friends of various species, Lissa felt something she had never experienced on Velastra. She felt like she belonged. Not because of her genetics or her beauty or her family name, but because of who she had chosen to be and the relationship she had chosen to build. "Speech," someone called out, and the table laughed and cheered. Lissa stood, raising her glass of earth wine. "1 year ago I arrived on this planet as an object. A gift. A thing to be possessed. I had been trained to be perfect in appearance and empty in thought. But someone," she looked at Kevin, who smiled back at her, "someone treated me like a person instead. He gave me the chance to think, to choose, to become myself. And in doing so, he helped me discover a new definition of beautiful." She gestured around the table at her friends, at the messy restaurant, at the chaotic city visible through the windows. "Beautiful is not perfect. Beautiful is real. Beautiful is choosing courage over comfort. Beautiful is using your mind to solve problems and your voice to speak truth. Beautiful is finding people who value you for what you contribute, not for how you look. Beautiful is freedom." She sat down to applause and laughter and genuine affection. Kevin took her hand under the table and squeezed it gently. Later, walking home through the city streets with Kevin beside her, Lissa thought about the ghost she had become on Velastra, the name struck from records, the daughter declared dead. That ghost had been reborn as someone real. Someone imperfect and striving and genuinely alive. "What are you thinking about?" Kevin asked. "I am thinking," Lissa said, "that I have never been happier than I am right now. Strange, messy, complicated, and completely happy." "Good," Kevin said and kissed her under the street lights. Above them, the stars shone down, the same stars that hung over Velastra, the same stars that connected all the worlds of the galaxy. But tonight, Lissa did not look at them and think of home. She was already home. She had built it herself, one choice at a time.